Reinhardt is a lot about tech. So if you want to climb as Reinhardt, you really have to learn the tech. All right. Today we are going to do a VOD review of a Silver Reinhardt on Hanamura. Silver Reinhardt. On Hanamura. So hard to write with my mouse. 1600 is the SR. Let's see. Do you have any notes? I would like to climb to gold or further lulls, and I have been told I play like a gold/plat tank, but I can't seem to climb. I know I have to work on awareness a little, and a little with countering other Rhines with mind game stuff. When I face off with a Rhine, half the time I block everything and shatter their whole entire team, and the other half I just fail every single time and the whole team dies. But I feel like that is mostly every Rhine mind game. While I'm aware of most of my mistakes and recognize them as soon as I make them, I'm wondering if anyone has any advice on what is the most prominent of my mistakes or skills that I need to work on to climb in the ranks. By the way, this isn't the best example of my so-called plat play. I just wanted to upload a video where I made mistakes and it ended in a draw, so I could learn more rather than just showcase my skills, So yeah, it's definitely very admirable that you aren't uploading your best video, and obviously the reason for that is it's just so much harder to review something. It's so much harder for you to get something out of the review if you upload some of your best play, and then someone will review your gameplay and be like, you should work on this or work on that, but it's hard to take that criticism because in that instance, because it was your best play or just because the other team was playing really poorly, that didn't turn out to be a failure, but at a higher rank that won't work. So yeah, let's get into it.
Very good D.Va.
Yeah, I love D.Va.
Nice.
Oh, tab. I think you had hit tab earlier.
As long as you're okay with me spamming AFK the whole round.
It's fine. As long as we win, I don't care.
Yeah, because I would like to talk about your comp before we start, because I always like to at least try and do that.
See, this emote voice combo is the best in the game.
We have a soldier.
Okay, hold up. You did hit tab earlier.
He's up all in this birch.
Very good D.Va.
Yeah, I love D.Va.
Nice.
Oh, there's like one frame.
Yeah, I love D.Va.
Okay, perfect. Because I do want to talk about compositions really quickly, because I always like to start there. So let's start off with your composition, and we'll talk about the enemies at some point in the future, but I at least want to talk about yours. So you guys, tank-wise, you're running Reinhardt and D.Va, which is actually a decent combo. It has a lot of utility in a lot of different ways. So especially like playing Overwatch right now with hero bans and whatnot, because I never know when you're going to watch this VOD, but there's different hero bans week to week. So understanding what makes a composition is more important, because maybe the Rein Zarya got banned, or maybe something else got banned. But having said that, Rein D.Va is actually not a bad combo and can be used in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to talk about the rest of your team a little bit, and then I'll come back to what your tank line is going to be doing, because Rein D.Va has a utility and has a couple different play styles that they can kind of adapt. So your heals are Moira, Lucio. This is pretty much Brawl. And the reason this is Brawl is because Moira has short range heals, so she can't really heal people far away, and Lucio has speed. And that's essentially what makes that Brawl. your DPS players are Sim and Soldier. They're kind of a mix. Theoretically, Soldier would be more poke, and Sim would probably be more on the side of brawl, but she can play poke as well, because if she gets high charge, she can do a ton of damage. But I think for the composition you're running, this is you're more of a brawly comp, and I say that because your heals are pretty brawly, and your DPS can do decent brawl damage, especially if you just play like a slow brawl. You're going to be a hybrid comp, so you're going to be in between a brawl comp. But I think your win condition is still the same, as in don't take too much poke and then kind of engage on them. And you're going to be able to do that because, you know, the D.Va actually does a ton of damage up close. Reinhardt, obviously, with swinging his hammer. Sim, if she just charges up a little bit, even though she doesn't want to be in the middle of the fight, she wants to be very, very close to enemies. And Soldier, especially now, I don't know when this VOD was, but I think it was before hero bans. But, like, especially now with his better Helix cooldown, can output so much damage. And at specific targets, so a lot of burst damage, which is really what you kind of want to see in Brawl.
Nice.
Yeah. So for your comp, essentially, what's going to be,
As long as you're okay.
What your job is as a tank here, kind of looking at the rest of your teammates. It's going to be to block some spam damage, to like manage your shield really well, try and make sure your team takes the least amount of damage as possible, allow the enemy to kind of come within hammer range and then start swinging. And, you know, your hammer range is very similar to Sim's beam range. Obviously, Sim has more beam range than your hammer range, but the concept is the same. So kind of bait them in a little bit and then, you know, let your team go ham. Even if that's, you have to hold your shield up for a little bit to allow your team to get some poke in, that's totally fine.
See, this emote voice combo is the best in the game.
Bog.
AFK.
It's kind of odd that you're not trying to fire strike the door. Hold up. I actually just usually I try and stay away from like map knowledge or giving interesting pieces of advice about maps, but for Hanamura, I'm actually going to, especially as Reinhardt, because there is a ridiculously good. Ooh, my Overwatch is definitely a little bit loud. Let me just turn that down quite a bit. So, if you're the defending team on Hanamura, so okay, as a defending Reinhardt, your goal, especially if you're going to be playing against another Reinhardt, but even if you're not, is to charge your Shatter ridiculously fast. And one of the ways you do that is with Fire Strike. So one of the best Fire Strike places, again, I try and stay away from talking about map-specific things, but if you crouch up here, you can kind of sit here, and as soon as the door is open, and then just charge right back to your team. Guaranteed that's like 10 or 12% ult charge. Usually what Reinhardts will do, they'll kind of sit here and Fire Strike the door, which I absolutely recommend you do, because you can Fire Strike before the door opens, you know, on like 2 or 3, depending on how far away you are, and then run back so there's no risk of you taking any damage, and you just got free ult charge off of that. So I absolutely recommend you Fire Strike the door, and then you'll have another. So I see you're probably going to Fire Strike this, but by the time the enemy rounds this corner, you'll have another Fire Strike. It's unlucky your Lucio just amped there, but it's okay.
D.Va's coming in.
Oh boy.
Lol.
Sim got rolled.
Get D.Va in zone. Take care of the D.Va on point, please. D.Va, can you peel?
Hey, not everybody go. Hey, how do you come back?
I guess Rog.
Yeah, so You missed the counter pin here, but it was actually probably pretty rough because you're 100% you're dead either way. Even if you had counterpinned, your whole team went to point, which was kind of unlucky. I know that I think you made the call out to can someone go to point. Ideally, in that situation, you'd have at least one person still back with you. I think your whole team literally retreated back to point. So I don't want to say awareness because it wasn't really awareness. That was just your whole team kind of left. Because holding the doors in the front is definitely what you want to do. But yeah, you're pretty much dead there either way. Even if you had counterpinned, you're dead there. But as you can see, your whole team is back on point here, which is a bit unlucky. So maybe the call should be, can one person go back to deal with the D.Va? But yeah, essentially your team left you there.
Sorry, I was a bit late on the counter charge.
I mean, yeah, at least you acknowledge it, but you'd have been dead either way.
Lucio left.
Try to play a bit defensively for now.
Jump top right.
Okay. We missed a very important part of Reinhardt tech. And I'm definitely going to have to show this because this is incredibly important if you're going to play Reinhardt. So, if you're playing Reinhardt, let me kind of demonstrate this. If I stand right on top of my little spray here, and I charge, I look forward, I charge, I go this far. Now, let me just kind of wait. And essentially what I'm going to say is if you hold space after you charge, you jump and you get a little bit of extra distance. So I hold space. And now I'm here, which is this much farther, which is absolutely necessary. You know, that's a piece of Reinhardt tech that you have to make part of your kit. You know, kind of just jump and you go a little bit farther. So that's an absolutely necessary piece of Reinhardt tech that you need to make part of your kit. Just holding space at the end of charges. It's a really, really, really good.
I'm still up. Try and get up.
Yeah. Junkrat's up top right as well.
I'm getting on point.
I knocked him down.
Right. I'm probably... So I paused the video there because I want to... I'm probably not going to harp on fire strikes that much because I think it's my opinion that fire strikes are obviously a huge part of Ryan's kit, but they really start to come into play if you want to climb from like plat to diamond. But if you see a free opportunity for a fire strike, you know, especially if you can hit like a mercy or... Because there is a really good opportunity here. So, okay. I don't want to... This is going to be a long discussion if I go down this road.
I'm still up. Try and get up.
Yeah. Junkrat's up top right as well.
I'm getting on point.
I knocked
So you have a couple of options here. Like, yeah, the D.Va can eat your fire strike, but you can fire strike the Reinhardt, or you can fire strike the D.Va, which would have been great as well. But something that your fire strike is very, very good for, and a lot of lower SR Reinhardts don't think about this, is putting pressure on people that you fire strike. Because your fire strike does a ton of damage. So if you fire strike a Mercy, she now is in a panic state where she either has to get heals or she has to kind of play very passive so her self heal kicks in. It's just a ton of pressure to put on any individual player. So definitely be looking to apply pressure with your fire strike. So think about, you know, fire striking, because a fire strike is a good way to follow up on kills and get kills as well. So think about fire striking the Mercy here. Even if you had fire strike before you charged, you know, maybe your Moira could have killed that Mercy. This is incredibly risky. Let you see their Lucio. The other thing that was a bit odd was on your way back, you didn't hit tab. So you don't actually know what the enemy is running. I'm pretty sure they're running, what, like junk, something else. But definitely make sure you're hitting tab.
D.Va's still here. Get Lucio.
Again, you're missing some Reinhardt tech. If it happens again, I'll talk about it. Because
On the door.
Reinhardt... So, the thing with Reinhardt is, he's a fairly simple character. You kind of hold your shield, you swing your hammer, you fire strike, you shatter. And you pretty much never charge. Unless you're trying to get back to a fight. But he's more complex in different ways, as opposed to where some heroes are about aim and some heroes are about, big brain, which Reinhardt is to some degree. Reinhardt is a lot about tech. So if you want to climb as Reinhardt, you really have to learn the tech behind Reinhardt, because it's those small advantages that really, really put your play above the other Reinhardt's play. Reinhardt is all about tech.
Just watch out for Lucius. He's still back here.
The damage you're shielding here wouldn't particularly... It doesn't really need to be shielded. And I say that because you have a diva, and she has Matrix, so if she's going to take too much damage, she can Matrix. Also, you have healers right here who can heal the diva if she takes damage. So you have to think of your shield as an extension of your HP. And I know this is going to be a weird concept to think about, but this is what I like to tell Reinhardts to try and think of their shield this way. Think of shield as an extension of your HP. So you wouldn't throw away you wouldn't stand right in front and take that spam damage, would you? No, you wouldn't, because there's no reason to, unless you're trying to feed your healer's ultimate charge. And it should be the same with your shield. Your shield should have a purpose. Your shield should be part of you. And you can kind of use it as HP too, with shield hopping and other Reinhardt tech, which I still haven't seen you do. And if I don't see it for a while, I'll talk about it, because again, tech is how you're going to climb with Reinhardt, learning his tech. And obviously positioning, but really tech is a huge part of Reinhardt, because it enables you to position yourself more aggressively or in different ways. But yeah, so you have to think about your shield as part of your HP. So would you just lose 600 HP?
That point, I guess you could put him after you with this team.
Especially if it doesn't enable your team to do anything. So your diva's shooting from a mile away. She's not going to hit anything with that. There's no significant damage coming from that. Maybe if you had a Widow and you wanted to shield the Widow and to try and allow her to get a pick or something, that's totally fine. But nice fire strike.
Shatter ready. Diva's left side. Diva's going in.
Diva through.
Oh boy, I think your team just left you again. This is bad. So, being that your team left you before, you should definitely be using... So Reinhardt has this mechanic that very few Reinhardt mains or Reinhardt players use, where you can use the left mouse button to then turn your camera a little bit. Most people, what they do instead is just kind of turn their shield a little bit real quick. Either way is fine if you want to go like that. But yeah, just because of prior knowledge that your team previously left you the last time this happened, last time the diva flew, I would definitely be just checking really quickly, even if it's like this or if it's like this, just to make sure they didn't leave you. Because if they left you, you can't hold here. Even though this is the place to hold, this is going to be incredibly difficult. And if you still decide you have to hold here because you don't want to let them through the choke, you're just going to want to hold here and swing your hammer. Take the least amount of damage as possible. But yeah, it's... Sometimes being a tank, you do have to kind of look where the rest of your team is and play around them a little bit. Even though that's suboptimal, it would be better if they played around you. But yeah.
Not everybody go through.
Nice counter charge. Oh, your diva bombed. Oh, you can. This would be a good juicy shatter. So you did shatter. All right, so that was good. I think you were thinking about bomb combo, bomb shatter. When the Ryan turns the block, you shatter. You shattered a little late here, I think. But
Diva's left side.
But you didn't talk about bomb combo, which is fine. I wouldn't expect I don't think that's needed to climb at silver, but what would be nice is if you hit tab here before they engaged and just seen what ultimates you guys have up.
Going in.
Diva through.
So
Not everybody go through.
again, nice counter charge. Yep, right here you could just shatter.
Moira, help me. The
Okay, there's a lot to talk about here. I first want to. I'll talk about the shatter because there's tech involved with that, which you're not aware of, which is fine. So you just shatter the Reinhardt, which is, you know, okay. Most of his team hid, you know. I'm very proud of you that you didn't just charge. So after you shatter someone, the way to get the most damage combo is pretty much to walk forward, swing your hammer, and fire strike, or fire strike, swing your hammer, which is fine. If you have to walk forward, you can fire strike if there's a gap between you and the enemy, because you're not doing anything anyway. So I'm very proud that you walk forward, start swinging your hammer, through a fire strike. That was really, really good. And also, if as kind of a helpful tip, you actually did a really, really good job here. A way to gauge how aggressive you should be on Rein, because many times Reinhardt mains have trouble with this, is pretty much you have shield down here. This is your level of aggression. When your shield runs out and you spill over into HP, that's when you stop being aggressive. Like when you're or armor. What am I saying? I'm so sorry. Obviously, when your shield runs out, you kind of have to stop being aggressive. But when your armor runs out, please forget about what I just said for the last couple seconds. When your armor runs out, when it goes too far in that direction, then you have to stop being aggressive, or then you have to be very careful about being aggressive. But that's a good like rule of thumb indicator. Like, do I have armor? Yes. Can I be aggressive? Yes. Do I have armor? No. Can I be aggressive? No. So that's like a good kind of rule of thumb base rule. And you did a pretty good job here. You kind of push as far as you can until you lose your armor, and then you kind of rely on your Moira to heal you back up to get armor. At this point, they just do a ton of damage, and I think the majority of your team left to go deal with the D.Va. Like, I'm not, again, because you didn't turn around, like, I don't see your Sim at all. I don't see your D.Va's Matrix at all, which is unlucky. But I want to talk about this piece of... So you get shattered here, and you did technically have shield left. Even though I don't think... You technically have shield a little bit, but you kind of took too much spam earlier, so you didn't really have enough shield, because your shield did break, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit earlier, so it's regenning. So you are in an odd position where you can't really shield because your shield broke and you're still regenning shield. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about another piece of tech. This is definitely a lot more advanced tech, but I do want to talk about it. I just want to check to make sure your shield did break. Yeah, your shield broke here, so it's still regenning. So you actually have no shield when he shatters you, which is fine. You know, a little better shield management. Not during this fight. The shield management would have come before this fight. So taking the spam before this fight is where the shield management would have came in. Let me be clear about that. But like I was saying before, I do want to share some Reinhardt tech. Even though it wouldn't have been completely applicable here, but again, Reinhardt is all about tech, and this is a little bit more advanced, but it's cool to kind of have in the back of your head. So, as a Reinhardt player, you should probably be tracking at least the enemy, if you're playing against the Rein, the enemy Reinhardt's ult. And if you have trouble with this, just use a rule of thumb. Anytime you're 20% away from your ult, assume the other Reinhardt has ult. So that's a good rule of thumb. Just so you kind of know. Because there's a mechanic with Rein. So Rein can shield. If you right-click with Rein, his shield is instant. See? Instant. Now, if you swing your hammer, you can still shield. You know? Swing, shield. Swing, shield. Swing, shield. It's the same as just shield. But if you swing your hammer completely, your shield takes longer. Like if you hold left click, your shield actually takes a little bit longer. And you think, oh, it doesn't make a difference. And theoretically, it doesn't. Theoretically, you can still hold left click and shield and be in time to block a shatter. But depending on how close the Rein is to you and how early you see the animation, I'll probably actually just right now just post over Reinhardt's shatter animation, because his hammer starts near the ground and comes like over his head, as opposed to the fire strike animation where it starts a little bit to the right of him. I'll just overlay this in a second. Boom. Okay, it's done. But yeah, so a trick you can do if you know their Reinhardt shatter is you can just keep swinging. Like if you watch my left mouse button, you just kind of click it. You don't hold it. You'll still get all your swings in, even if it's at a slightly slower rate. And if you hit the timing perfectly, you can, get both swings in. But then you can instantly shield. And you'll block way more shatters that way, as opposed to if you're holding the button and then you hear it and then you have to shield. It does take a slight bit longer. But that's a little bit of an advanced Reinhardt tech. Probably the best way to block shatters is to just know the animation of the shatter. So rewatch the clip I just posted in like slow-mo, and you'll see where that Reinhardt hammer starts. And when you know the enemy Reinhardt has shatter, just look for the start of that animation and then just shield. So that's probably the best way to block shatters. But that's a cool piece of Reinhardt trivia, I guess.
Moira, help me.
But yeah, this is unlucky because you don't have any shield to block this.
Lucy's low.
Focus of the people on point. They're getting a lot of value.
Yeah, probably going in here is not the plan. I think you guys just need to reset. Oh, maybe you can hold this. Yeah, this might be rough.
Let's back out.
Shield your soldier out here. So you seem to be not very comfortable with this, and I guess I'll use this opportunity to talk about shield hopping as well, because this is another piece of tech you have to use and have to know and have to use if you want to climb. But you're essentially just shielding like this, so you can just turn your shield like this, shield your Rein out, or shield your soldier out. And then there's a concept called shield hopping. So instead of just walking out like this, I mean, it wouldn't be applicable right here, but I haven't seen you use it, and there's a couple situations where you could have used it to great effect. What you can do is, if you want to close distance fast, Reinhardt's like normal walking speed is much faster than his shielding speed, even though they did buff his shielding like speed. He's still slower. So what you can do is, the shield only slows you down if you're touching the ground. So if you're in the air, shield doesn't slow you down. So you can go like this and be a little bit faster than if you just walk, but you can make that even faster if you kind of just jump along with your and shield when you hit space, you shield, and you can go even a little bit faster that way. So, but if you want to get out a little faster, you can just use jump. But yeah, make sure you're shielding your soldier out here. So it looks like you're not very comfortable with using your shield like at different angles, because I didn't see you do it. I didn't see you do it over here. Like, you would just hold your shield flat. You wouldn't, like, usually what you do is you'll scout, so you'll go like this, just kind of see where they're coming from, or even like this, or you can use the other mouse button, go like this. But yeah, I didn't see you do that at all. So that's kind of more just try and get more comfortable with Reinhardt shield and like how it works. You don't always have to hold it straight, you can tilt it quite a bit. and get a ton of value out of it.
Are we gonna
Good job
let him
on
have
the
it?
timer, though.
No, we can't hold that.
No reason to be holding your shield here.
Yeah,
Nope.
let's let him have it. So,
Alright, work the timer. Stall as long as you can.
Yep.
Oh, your team didn't completely regroup, which is
Someone's
unlucky.
top right.
So you heard the call, someone's top right,
He's
so...
gonna go scout out top right, see who's up there.
Oh, well...
Moira, I died.
Oh, I think that was you that made the call, right? I don't even know. But that was actually a decent call to see if the Lucio could go scout out. Yeah, unlucky that your sim kind of fed, but she traded at least,
No.
so...
Diva's here. Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't see the pin.
But, well, even if you had saw the pin, you still would have died either way, if you had counterpinned. But yeah, so essentially, usually what you want to do on Hanamura is after you lose first point, so, you know, you're coming back, hold space at the end of your charge, you go a little bit farther, but you want to hold high ground. And the reason for holding high ground, especially with the comp that you have, is you have a soldier who's really, really good on high ground. So if they don't come high ground, if they go main like they did, you just can leave your soldier up here. You know, maybe shield him for a little bit, let him do some damage, but you can come down and contest, and you can just leave your soldier up there. He'll do massive amounts of damage. But if they do go high, so like if they do go high ground right here, if they hadn't come main, you'd kind of be screwed because you'd be sitting here on the low ground, just waiting for them to poke you out. And that is their win condition. Remember, you want to take the least amount of poke possible before an engagement. And because they have Junkrat and Soldier, I think they have Soldier, right? You haven't hit tab. I need you to hit tab. But because they have Junkrat and Soldier, I think they're going to be doing so much poke. If they just go to the high ground, you're super screwed. So yeah, usually default response on Hanamura is to play high ground.
Yeah.
Just go in through and out.
Nice counter charge.
David, Diva.
Keep swinging. Yep.
Can someone get that mercy?
All right, let me talk about another piece of Reinhardt tech that would have been super useful right there. Okay, so Reinhardt has this. His Reinhardt's hammer has like a cooldown as far as you have to swing it and then it'll do like it has a cooldown between the time it damages, and I don't know what that cooldown is, but it's like a second-ish, maybe a little bit more. But you can get more burst damage in, and remember, burst damage is what you want to do in Overwatch because burst damage is really good. If you have one fire strike and then cancel, or one hammer swing and cancel that hammer swing into a fire strike. So as soon as you see the little hit marker, you can just cancel the rest of your swing into a fire strike, which then does more burst damage, which allows you to do more effective damage overall. And if you wanted to do even more effective damage, I'll show you this as well because this is important. So if you are here and you swing, you can't hit the training bot. But Reinhardt's hammer is actually... It swings in a weird shape, if you can imagine. So instead of swinging here, if you look about here where your hammer is blocking the target... Oh. I'm a little bit too far. My bad. If you look about here where your hammer is blocking the target, you can then hit them. But you can't hit them when you're looking right at them. So Reinhardt's hammer has a little bit of extra reach. So if you wanted to even be more effective with your damage, there you go. That's a lot quicker than waiting for, waiting for two swings and then fire striking. So yeah, definitely make sure you cancel hammer swing with fire strike animation. So boom, then they're dead. It's a much quicker time to kill which would have been super good to do on this soldier that you were swinging at.
There's no
I
else
was
on point, man.
just unlucky.
There's a Junkrat spamming on the right side.
Nope. It's
You can't save your fucking ult like that, Lucio, man. Just
Yeah,
fucking...
I'm sorry. I kept dying.
Next time.
yeah. I mean, so the thing is, like, just on a team level, I know it was the diva that said this. You do have to be careful when you call out people. So even though the diva was absolutely correct, you really should have ulted a lot earlier. But the past is the past, and you have to be careful the way you phrase things, because that's the kind of stuff
Something was happening
that tilts people
IRL,
really
so-
quickly.
Sorry, I was distracted.
And like this Lucio is a really nice kind of humble guy. He was just like, yeah, so stuff was happening, my bad. But other people would have taken that really poorly and just been like,
Dang, I really
you
wish
know,
May wasn't blocked right now.
I'm throwing right now.
That'd be
Oh,
perfect.
so May is blocked. Okay, so you guys are playing during hero bans. Very cool, very cool.
The Mardi Gras skin for Ash is kind of poo-poo. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, just like
Wait,
with
what'd
the
you
team
say?
comp. With the team.
So let's have a look at your team comp again real quick. I'll try and make this one real quick. So you guys are running tank wise, you're running Ryan Zarya, really good. That's super brawl. Heal wise, you're running Moira Lucio, again, super brawl. DPS wise, well, I probably should have made heals the normal color. I make heals. There we go. We'll just pretend that's the normal color. DPS wise, you're running Ashe and Tracer, which is a bit odd, but Ashe is actually fairly decent just because of the dynamite. So the Ashe's dynamite is really good. The Tracer here is probably going to be a little bit rough, just because of how hard the choke is in Hanamura, but it's definitely not a terrible pick because you can have the Tracer blink back to point, touch point, and then you guys can just kind of engage in as the enemy turns their backs or turns around. But the Tracer is going to have to be a little self-sufficient, so probably not something I would expect at this level, but maybe even something as simple as like you use your first bubble to allow the Tracer to kind of blink through the choke. Or the Zarya uses her first bubble to allow the Tracer to blink through the choke would be kind of an interesting strategy to see. But again, I want to keep this to kind of your gameplay, not the rest of the teams.
Comp in general, if you're gonna go Tracer, just watch out. We won't be able to help you that much.
Which is true.
True.
But I will see them done.
Hanzo would probably be really good because of the combo.
Unless
But-
one of them goes Zen, then they could just
You have a good comp. Don't compromise because, like, you have a very good comp. Your brawl right now, really great. Don't just start compromising your comp because one person is a little bit off. That's fine. Like, you'd be all right. Oh no, he just used amp. No. You need to be shielding out this door. So at higher SR, some spam should be coming this way. It's honestly a miracle that no spam has hit the door yet, but absolutely some spam should be coming this way. So you want to shield that door in case the Junkrat is above you guys or somewhere shooting whatever, or if they have a soldier or whatever it is they have, you just want to be shielding that door, even if it's just a flash jump shield on the way out.
They're up top left.
So you kind of just are leaving.
Watch for
Okay.
Junkrat.
So your composition in Brawl is the same, or like your win condition in Brawl is the same. It's don't let your team take poke, engage on the enemy, like get really close to the enemy, and then F them up.
Why'd you do that, man?
But essentially, you kind of forget about what your role is here, where you shield, which is great, you rock some damage, but then you just continue to walk forward to the choke, leaving this Junkrat to spam the rest of your team, and your Ashe dies because of that. So you have to be really conscientious with what your win condition is and like how you achieve that. So you achieve that by taking the least amount of poke and obviously you couldn't have avoided this Junkrat poke here. He was just going to shoot mines. But if you have to take poke, the goal is to not have to use an ability to absorb that poke. So your shield isn't really an ability, it's just kind of part of your HP. So you should have just shielded the junk mines and allowed your team to kind of get into a better position, or force the junk diva off the high ground. Have Ashe just start shooting at them a little bit. But yeah, you can't just leave them high and dry, because otherwise your team will have to use abilities to keep your team alive. So because you go forward, your Zarya now has to use bubble on Ashe because the Junkrat's spamming, or your Lucio has to use amp, even though he used amp, to keep people alive, or your Moira has to use healing orb to keep people alive, as opposed to that could have just been your shield, and you guys could have those abilities to push forward. So yeah, really think about, don't just try and take this Rein 1v1. Like, even though you do have to take the Rein 1v1, you have to think about what your role is in your team and how you add value.
Watch for junk trap main.
Oh, your Tracer blinked in. Good shot. Good thing you killed that trap. I'm pretty sure she would have been stuck. Hopefully she just pressures point here. So right now, so you guys are down. Wait, who died before? I thought it was the Ashe. Was I mistaken?
They're up top left. Watch for junk trap main.
Okay, yeah, it was back here. I just rewound too much. Yeah, so the Ashe dies here, which is really suckish, but you guys can still essentially win, because I don't think Zarya used her bubble. So at this point, you should really just call for Zarya to bubble you and just start going ham. Remember, you're Brawl. This is exactly the fight you want to take, where you just are right on top of the enemy and just start swinging into them, start doing damage to them. And again, if you kind of want a rule of thumb indicator, even though it is a rule of thumb, you have armor here, so be a little aggressive. Try and get your hammer swings in. Try and build shatter. Try and hit some nice fire strikes. Yeah, just literally walk forward and be aggressive here. Yeah, just be aggressive. Swing. Yeah, it was unlucky you got trapped. I don't think there was much. I think he threw it down right at the end, so I don't think there was much for you to see. But yeah, let me actually look back to check to make sure. Oh, so your Zarya did use bubble early, which is unlucky. So you do have to wait for bubble. That was my bad. I didn't even see that in all our talking points. So yeah, you do have to be less aggressive here and wait for bubble. Yep, he just threw it down. You kind of walked into it. But instead of shielding here, you have bubble. You have almost your full shield. So if you have to, you can shield flash to use that as HP. Let me draw it out. Like, you have armor, you have shield, and then like in a second, you have bubble. Yeah, there's no more telltale signs for a Rein to be aggressive than having all three of these things in spades. And their Reinhardt even backed off. Their Reinhardt went charging in a random direction. So absolutely, now is the time to not hold your shield, to just walk forward and swing. Yep, no shield holding should be done here. It's unlucky you get bursted so fast, but essentially bubble wore off, and then yeah, you didn't do enough damage to that Junkrat. But if you just walked forward and swung on that Junkrat, you absolutely would have killed him.
Sorry, I got stuck in the junk trap. I didn't see it.
I'm going left, getting behind them.
What the? They got caught in that little thing. It's hilarious.
Get the Rein. They shouldn't be out this far. Punch them.
I got a decent fire strike. You're probably going to want to have your shield up a little bit more to try and keep the spam damage off of the Lucio. I mean, even though his positioning was poor, but you do have to try and keep them alive. Unlucky. Missed the counter pin. Just back off. Just back off. They used beat. Oh, you guys used coalescence. No, you still don't win this. You just have to wait it out. Alright, good. Yep, you just walk forward. Just swing. Walk forward.
Go to
Oh,
point. Go to
no.
point.
No charging. No charging. If you want to go to point, just walk to point.
Go to point.
No charging. Don't use charge unless you're... So, something that one thing that holds most Reinhardts back is their use of charge. Now, I don't think this is the case for you, because you're not a very charge-happy Reinhardt, which is very good. I'm very proud of you for that. But, you know, I don't want to say unbind charge, because you do need it, especially to get back and to counterpin and whatnot, stuff like that. But other than that, seriously, just unbind charge. It's almost never useful. Again, you can kind of right-click Fire Strike here, or swing Fire Strike, you know, animation cancel. Yep, just...
Lucio's on point. Can you help me with him?
Yeah.
Lucio's wall ready.
Oh, you did it there, kind of at the end, which was nice. I think that was unintentional, though. Yep. Unfortunately, you don't have Fire Strike for that tire, but you do some nice shield flicking, and your mortar just fell off. Unlucky you guys used beat. But I guess he's trying to negate the tire.
Diva. She's
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. What the heck is that? You see the Diva bomb, and then you just turn your shield away, and your Genji's gonna die because of that. I'm sure you know this is a mistake, though, so I'm sure I don't have to harp on this. But this is kind of like the mindset of being a Reinhardt player. Like, and it looks like you struggle a lot with kind of... Like I said, Reinhardt's a very... Oh.
Diva.
Reinhardt's a very simple character to play, but it's these little things like this. It's knowing Reinhardt tech. It's the mindset of being a Reinhardt that makes a good Reinhardt. Like, you're just thinking about shielding yourself, as opposed to whenever there's a Diva bomb, you should be thinking, who else can I shield? Because obviously you're going to shield yourself, because your shield is in front of you. So.
No. Lucio didn't go speed.
But.
Let's go.
And if you need help, like, if you need help with the Reinhardt mindset, my biggest tip, because like sometimes it's hard to learn when to be aggressive, but my biggest tip, if you need help with a mindset, not necessarily aggression, is just swing your hammer. So like right now, you should be swinging your hammer. Does it do anything? Absolutely freaking not. It does nothing. But it puts you in the mindset of being this big German man who swings his hammer, and that's a mindset that I think you definitely need to think about. And I know it's weird to be like, oh, figure out a mindset, because it's not a technical skill, but you just don't play like a tank a lot.
Soldiers up top left. Oh.
So like, you see the soldier top left, but your Zarya's going in. Just, you know, you have Shatter, which there's a great opportunity to Shatter right here. You can, their Reinhardt's not in front. Just.
I'm gonna look for Shattering. Sorry, we both shattered.
Yeah, they're Rein shattered. Yeah, you hold shield, which is nice, because you kind of have to, because you're super low HP.
Soldier down.
That was played pretty well.
Get Lucio.
Lucio. Not our Lucio.
More. Oh, mercy.
Ryan
Nice.
left.
Someone's going up top right. Soldier.
You're not shielding anyone here. You have to walk in front of your team to shield them, so that's unlucky. Oh, okay, I respect the attempt pin charge.
Hog. Okay, soldier.
Right.
Mercy's coming in.
Nice kill on Mercy.
Nice.
And you guys have this point.
Got it.
Whoa.
That was close one. We got it though.
Wow, this is definitely going to be a long VOD review. I feel like I rambled so much already. I'm not really going to talk about team comps here, because essentially you guys are still running Brawl, more or less, even though your DPS are kind of poke, but you're essentially still running Brawl, because Torb is really, really good. His E ability makes him super, super tanky, super, super survivable. So your plan is the same. Don't take damage, engage on the enemy all at once, like when they're close quarters. Even like bait them in. Even just bait them in. I'm sure the Symmetra is going to throw our turrets, you know, right around this door. Just bait them in a little bit, get that sim turret damage.
Tim, can you put a
And then make sure you're fire striking the door here. You need that spam damage to help you build ult charge. That's, you know, just being part of Reinhardt.
a teleporter up there?
Actually, do you think a teleporter could go from like right here to
Can you
spawn?
put a turret? I mean
Actually-
a teleporter.
Could you put the teleporter right here to spawn? That way we can get
That'd be
back
pretty
to
good.
to
Yeah,
go,
teleporter there to spawn would
do
actually be pretty
everybody
pog.
Keeps diving point.
Hey, now you're thinking. You kind of saw that there's so many people diving the point, and your team just entirely leaves. So, yeah, I'm all for that. And this
Why
Tim
no?
just no unlucky.
For a moment.
Junk's up top.
Yeah. So like, look how much spam damage you've already taken. Like, yeah, you had to take some of that from the Junkrat,
Actually, do you think
who was
the
up top,
teleporter
because
could
otherwise that would have done damage to your team.
Can you put a turret?
But
I mean
Actually,
you didn't have to take all of
could you
that
put the teleporter?
at the beginning here.
Why no?
Hold up.
It's a bad tip.
for a
So
moment.
like, all this damage you didn't have to take. Like, you just have to have enough trust in your Zarya that she'll bubble you. So like, your shield's already at 1,000 here. You know, 600 down, even though her bubble's way late. But that's fine. Like, your shield is already like super, super low here, and they're running a spam comp, you know, with Junk Soldier. So
Junk's up top.
yeah, your shield is pretty much broken even before they get to the choke, which is really,
He was
really
going to
bad.
Point again.
Yeah, just kind of hide. There's no don't. So the other thing as Reinhardt that's really important is don't let your shield completely break, because it takes longer to recharge. It's better to just kind of, and you have no ability to block very important cooldowns. So if the Rein shatters, you can block that with 1 HP shield. If the Ana sleep darts, you can block that with 1 HP shield. If you the Roadhog hooks, even though I don't think they're running an Ana or Roadhog, but that's not the point. You can block that with 1 HP shield. So yeah, good fire strike. Try and put pressure on squishies here. Don't. So you're just fire striking the Rein, which is okay, kind of what I would expect. But if I'm kind of torn, because I don't want to go into like fire strikes, because I think you won't need that to climb. I think you won't really need that until you're in platinum. Like, obviously you need to fire strike, but you won't really need to be very critical about your fire strikes till you're in platinum, because that's where you're going to need them to climb to diamond. But yeah, you definitely want to fire strike squishies. So like, if you had used your fire strike on this Mercy right here, she would have been crazy low, and maybe your team could have just burst her down, as opposed to just using it on the Rein, which you know that's going to get healed.
My shield's
But-
down, so watch out for that.
Yep, you're playing the corner, which is really, really nice.
Play walls.
Play the corner, just swing. Yep, like this is kind of the mindset of a Rhino. You're just swinging, playing in a corner. When your shield's down, keep swinging.
Ryan's going to point. Let's all go back to point.
Oh, unlucky you hit the ledge.
Everybody go back to point.
And this is fine, because your team is pretty notorious for just going back to the point without you. So you make the decision to go back to point. You all go back to point. It's okay.
Ryan's one. Huge.
You just need to be shielding here. Like, look at your HP. You just need to be shielding. Again, like, you have a lot of shield. Again, think of your shield as HP. So you can just use this HP, so to speak, and gain back your HP here until you're at your armor, and then feel free to be more aggressive again. It's a good rule of thumb for Reinhardt for when you need to be aggressive and when you
Okay,
should not
Lucio,
be
good,
aggressive.
Lucio, nice. Soldier.
Yep, you should like, if that soldier had hit his Helix rocket, you'd be dead. So just kind of need to be shielding here.
Junkrat's on
Oh,
point.
now you have bubble, so that's totally fine to be aggressive. Get a swing in.
Soldier.
Yep,
Soldier and Diva. Focus Diva
but
first.
now you're good. Just keep swinging.
Diva's one. Diva's out of mech. Diva's down.
just walk forward. Be a Reinhardt. Even if you're gonna hold your shield up and kind of like shield hop to walk forward, that's fine. Be a Reinhardt. Be in front of your team. You are the main tank. That was good. You attempted on the Mercy.
Watch out for.
You should at least initially shield this to make sure that soldier doesn't get a pick. Allow people to kind of retreat, if you will, because especially if you have supports all the way in the back, they might be in the back far enough where it takes them longer to retreat. So even if you hold your shield up for a second or two to just allow them to move, that's really, really good. So again, think of you are the main tank. Think of other people, not just yourself.
Lucio's in here.
That was good.
Gorilla behind us.
Just so you're not breaking bubble here. Break bubble. Walk. You can walk all the way right to this sim wall. You know, no one's going to damage you through a sim wall, other than like Reinhardt or Winston. But their damages, you can easily take that and just break bubble. You have shatter. You want to use shatter. You obviously have to keep in mind that the enemy Ryan probably has shatter too. So something you should think about, because like I said, if you're not alt tracking, which is something you don't probably have to do, but you can roughly gauge it. You can be like, I'm 80% alt. I assume the other Reinhardt has alt. I have alt. I assume the other Reinhardt has alt. So, yeah, you're breaking the bubble here, because if you break the bubble here, this would have been a perfect opportunity to shatter and just go in deep. I guess you're trying to charge to get back to point. That's okay, but you can just walk forward and swing. Yeah, that definitely was. It's harder to block shatters when their Reinhardts are right next to you, but you were holding left click, which makes it almost impossible unless you see the start of the animation. It's incredibly hard. So if you know the other Reinhardt has shatter, maybe just tap left click and don't full on hold it to swing. That might help you block more shatters.
I'm one. Thank you.
Yep, just hold your shield here. This was, again, incredibly dangerous. I know that was incredibly juicy, but one Junkrat bomb and you would have been dead here. Or maybe a little bit more than one, but the principle is the same, So,
Shatter.
I think you kind of know you messed that one up, but that's fine. Because, again, you're still super low HP, which is fine to shatter at low HP, but you just have to be way more careful. And you guys didn't break bubble. There was no call to break bubble. Like, if you have shatter and you know you want to use it, you can, like, tell people to break bubble. That is a legitimate call. Be like, oh, break Winston bubble, break Winston bubble. And the sim will just look at it for, like, 2 seconds and break it, and you're in good shape.
Just hold as long as you can. Right now, we're just stalling for time.
This is true. You guys are just stalling for time.
Stall for as much time as you can.
It's quicker if you go out left, if you're trying to make it, unless you don't care.
Yeah, I died.
Okay, yeah, this point is lost.
Every second counts.
You shouldn't go any farther here.
Okay,
The point is lost.
Let's just reset.
Yep, but you reset and go high ground. High ground, high ground.
Winston's going right. I hear him over here.
Yeah, always. So if you're an immobile comp, you should always at least start on the high ground in case they go high ground, so you can contest them. Because if you don't at least start on the high ground and you start low ground, they'll just go high ground and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, they're going right.
Which is fine. Good scouting. It's really good scouting. Well, the Junkrat is going right. The rest of them are going main. So make sure you make that distinction to your team. Even though I'm pretty sure they have eyes and they can see. You're just taking a ton of poke here and adds no value. Just hide behind these pillars. The pillars are right here. You just hide behind them. No need to take a ton of poke to your shield. Remember, you guys want to brawl. You want to fight close. You don't want to take a ton of poke. If your shield breaks before you get your first hammer swing in, you will most likely lose that fight with the comp that you're running because you're running brawl.
They're on the right.
Really good. You guys turn on the monkey.
Junkrat.
Kill the monkey.
Junkrat.
Should be looking for fire strike here. Always look for fire strike on the tires. Because your fire strike will one-shot the tire. So when you hear the tire, think fire strike if you have it. Yeah, you should probably have counterpinned that Ryan, but it's okay. Oh, and you missed the charge. That's even more unlucky. And your Zarya grabs with very little follow-up, but that's okay. Oh, there was follow-up. You guys did it.
Ryan low.
Nice hold, nice hold.
Oh,
Soldier.
now you just used
Soldier low.
every ult.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's okay. This is probably last fight. I'd be impressed if you lost this. No reason to go all the way out here. Although I respect... Oh, I thought you were looking for a fire strike. Oh, you're just scouting. Okay, I was going to say I respect if you're looking for a fire strike, but, you know, again, that just puts you in a risky
Alright,
position.
Right.
At the beginning, like, I know I harped on getting in fire strikes early, like at the beginning, because it's different, because you know exactly where the enemy's going to come out of, and you can easily move before they do damage to you.
Right side.
Was unlucky
Monkey.
on not being able to kill the Lucio, but yep, just swing.
Soldier.
It's really good.
Ryan.
Ooh,
Ryan's one.
that's again, you just got to be thinking
Come on.
when I have 80% ult, just assume the other enemy Reinhardt has ult.
Yes.
Even if you have to say it to yourself, like when you get 80%, just be like, Ryan has ult, and then maybe it'll keep it on your brain and you'll think about it. But either way, good job
I
here.
just got shattered too.
This is a classic Hanamura special. We go to like 12, but that's okay. You guys have a lot of time, so. And I assume you're gonna run the same comp, which is fine. Just gonna skip forward a little bit.
3 minutes 50 seconds to get all of point 1 and a little bit of point 2. We got this.
Oh, you're running Roadhog instead of Zarya. So essentially, this changes things a little bit because you have to be a little bit more patient because you don't have bubble. So you're just gonna kind of help with shield break, be patient, wait for shield break, try and let your Roadhog get hooks, try and follow up on the hooks that he gets. You know, a couple good hammer swings, try and follow up on the damage your Roadhog does. But yeah, you have to be a much less aggressive tank now.
Okay, so we could plan to, once Tracer goes in, Lucio hold your boost, let Tracer go in, distract them, and then we can just boost through the point.
I mean, you could do that, it'll probably work. Ken, shield up.
Top left.
They have Sigma Ryan. Okay, ready? Okay, let's boost through.
Let's go.
Okay, I'm down.
Yeah.
Junkrat was waiting.
This is pretty rough because you guys don't have a... So you're no longer Brawl in the sense that fighting them really close isn't really your... Roadhog kind of changed your team's playstyle in the sense that you're more poke now. So you kind of just have to wait. Just break the shield as best you can. You know, even when you swing into them, that does a tremendous amount of damage to them. Break their shield as best you can, and then try and let your hog get hooks and get picks and go off that. It's probably the best way to win, but...
Good heals.
Yeah, good heals.
Ooh, that was a big nade.
All purple.
Madcade.
What do you keep hitting there? I think it's the second time. Very frustrating. Yeah, it's unlucky, though.
Okay, I'm back.
You guys got a
Jump
pick.
down.
That's really, really good. Oh,
They
I think they
revived,
rezzed.
Jump back up.
At this point, your Roadhog's all the way in, so you might as well go in pretty deep, too, and just start swinging at their supports, at their Junkrat.
I'm pushing forward. Oh crap, Ryan.
Missed the
Focus
counter
on-
pin, which is okay.
Nice.
Right down.
Once I heal up a little bit, let's go in.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's
let's
go.
go.
Nice, but again, you weren't actually blocking this Lucio
Okay, let's go.
because you didn't turn your shield here. So if this Sigma, although I think he was aiming for if he had hit his rock, he would have still have hit this Lucio and stunned him. So again, just turn your shield a little bit to help block your teammates.
Watch
You know,
out for point.
it's
watch
not
out
just
for
for
point.
you. Hold your shield for your hog. So even though it's really good to swing, how do I want to put this? Hog's ult is not particularly good. He's pretty vulnerable during it, and people do a lot of damage to it because they focus him. So you definitely, if you have the opportunity, and he like does a tremendous amount of damage too, you want to be able to shield him so he doesn't get knocked off the edge, and so people don't just burst him down because he doesn't have self heal. So
Sigma.
looking for Fire Strike on Tire. Ah, they got a good tire. It's kind of unlucky. Where did your hog die? Did he die early here?
Sigma.
Oh, I guess your hog didn't get beat. That was pretty crazy, and yeah, he essentially died, I think, because he didn't get beat, which was unlucky. But if you probably had shielded him, he still would have survived. Not that you would have won the fight off of that, but
Back out and regroup.
Reloading.
yep, good call.
Back out and regroup.
You definitely want to be regrouping.
Sorry, sometimes I can't hear you because phone's kind of quiet.
It's okay.
I'm at 61%.
Okay. Let's go. Watch out for junk tire. Oh, junk crap, I mean. Relax, Shatter.
Nice block, although I don't know if that was an intentional block. I think their Ryan just straight up shattered your shield. Hey,
Nice. Sigma.
really good Fire Strike, even though you're going for the Mercy. But like that was really good because of how much pressure you put on, low HP targets. So, yep. If you had instead of swinging right at this Sigma, you probably would have been able to hit him.
Nice. Sigma. Focus Sigma.
If you had just turned your, you used the Reinhardt tech that I explained before, and kind of turned your camera a little bit left or a little bit right, you probably would have gotten a hit off of him here. Because he's just barely out of your range for a lot of that.
Okay, there's just Torb left.
Be aggressive. I can literally see you. You're pressing S here. Look. Right here, you kind of like, you go forward a little bit, and then you kind of back up a little bit. Just go straight forward. Go right at him. You have armor. You have no reason to be afraid.
Sneaky Torb.
Go at him. Swing your hammer at him.
Let's go. Okay, we just have a little bit to go. I have Shatter ready for next fight. We almost have Bob. I'm gonna try to.
Which
hold
is good.
Shatter
So like,
until-
so now it's really good. Now you're hitting tab. You're kind of looking at ults. You're trying to make a game plan, which is really good. That helps you win so many games. Lack of a game plan is why, probably one of the biggest reasons why low SR players can't climb, because they just don't think. They go, oh, I'm just gonna whatever and do whatever. But yeah, think of a game plan. Make a game plan. Talk to your team. Figure out what else you have. Think about what else they have. But you probably don't have to think about what else they have. You can probably worry about that at a higher SR or later. But even for your own team, just make a game plan.
Oh, we get Bob and then we can Shatter Bob.
Heck yeah. Sounds like a good game plan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna hold that point and hold that.
Probably go
short,
high
and then
ground,
You can fire off
but-
some shots and get Bob and let me know when you have him.
Usually the default for Hanamura is high ground. It's a bit odd. I don't know if this is like a silver thing or whatever, but you're just keep going low ground here. Like, yeah, people do go main, but usually they at least try high ground first, because high ground is just, the advantages are really, really good.
I'm gonna
Oh,
try to get
I think you just lagged.
the turret down.
Or the recording might have just lagged. Oh, you got the turret.
You got Bob?
All right, sweet. Let's go. Let's use,
Not yet.
just kind of call for speed and just walk in.
Okay.
So we have an opportunity.
Ooh, that Junkrat's
spot.
behind.
Torb up
Good
top.
shielding your team. Yeah.
Okay.
Unlucky. No counter pin.
I got Bob.
Okay. I'm. one.
Yep,
I
just
need-
got a shield. Oh,
Save
lucky.
it. Save it.
wait, what? No,
What the heck? Why did Bob go over there?
that was not the game plan. Oh, you guys have saved.
Good. Just
That was
spam the
unlucky, but
one tick. We're almost there. I got Shatter. I'm coming back with it. Just hold for a little longer.
use space, hold space. You'll go a little bit farther.
Let's
Oh, they have
actually regroup
Bastion.
and
Yeah, you don't want to go main.
Chance if we just regroup.
You don't want to go main against the Bastion. Bastion is so much poke. You want to go high ground and drop on him.
Try to go up top right.
Hey, now you're thinking.
I got healed. And I
That's
died.
fine. Let's all go regroup and let's go top right.
Yeah, because this is last fight. So you should communicate that to your team. Because, strangely enough, you know, at all ranks, this isn't specific to low ranks, people like panic because it's the last fight, so they'll use everything. They'll use every ability, every cooldown, which is sometimes what you need to win a fight. So,
Wait for Lucio, wait for Lucio, wait for Lucio.
which is fine, good call. You're being aware of who's around you, what you're waiting for.
Right, going. I'm right behind you.
Junkrat, nice.
Nice. Oh,
Okay, let's go downstairs.
this is also okay. No. Shatter this Bastion. No. Like, oh wait, actually I'm torn because I nanoed Ryan. Hold up.
Lucio, wait for Lucio,
The
wait
thing
for
is,
Lucio.
Bastion does so much spam damage to your team. It's just incredibly hard for your team to deal with him.
Right, going. I'm right behind you.
Junkrat,
It's
Junkrat,
killed
nice.
Junkrat, which is really, really nice.
Okay, let's go downstairs.
Yeah, your ball kind of already went on and died to Bastion. I think you just have to shatter Bastion here and just kind of throw a fire strike, walk forward, charge if you can't make it there, like before he wakes back up. Because I think if you don't kill Bastion, this fight is a guaranteed loss. Because Bastion's just going to sit in the back and kind of do damage. There's nothing you can do.
Oh crap, that was
So-
much behind us.
Let me get their Bastion. Oh god.
I'm down.
Yeah,
Hold it.
the Bastion just does a massive amount of work. But that's okay. Bastion is sometimes pretty hard to hold against. Yeah. There's just a massive amount of damage that Bastion's getting for free.
Looks like it's gonna be a draw.
It was also unlucky your team kind of didn't follow you down when you made that call. But what are you going to do?
God. Damn it.
I mean, overall, not a bad VOD. Like my personal opinion, because you had a nice long statement at the beginning. Let me look through it. I think your awareness definitely is something to think about, but I don't think that's what's holding you back. Okay, so the three things I would suggest you work on is kind of your mindset as a Reinhardt, in so much as it looks like, I hate making assumptions, but it looks like either you used to play a different role and you're trying to transition to tank, or you played like Orisa or a much less aggressive tank, but your kind of mindset on Reinhardt isn't very Reinhardty, if that makes sense. And I know that's kind of hard to communicate, like, because mindset isn't a specific skill. I can't just be like, oh, do this better or do that better. But Reinhardt is a very, like I said, he's a very simple character, and technically there isn't a lot that goes into him, but you have to kind of, the couple pieces that he does have are very kind of in depth, and think about positioning in front of your team a little bit, but be that German tank that swings his hammer and just demolishes people. And if you need help with the mindset, like I said before, probably the best tip I can give: in between fights, just swing your hammer. And I know that sounds like the stupidest advice you'll ever get, but it'll really help you with just kind of thinking like, I am a tank. I can swing into the enemy. I can get a couple more swings off. I can get a couple more hits off. Just swing your hammer, even when you're doing nothing. When you're just kind of walking, when you're, just swing. The other thing that I would suggest you learn, so like the second thing that I think would be really good, is kind of shield management or utility. There's a couple times, it wasn't a huge big deal in this game, but as you climb, it'll definitely be a bigger issue, I think. Just kind of understanding what damage you have to block and what damage you don't have to block, which obviously does rely on the comp that you're running. If you're running like a brawl, you want to block the damage you have to, but not more than you have to. If you're running poke, then you have to enable your team to do poke, so sometimes you have to block more damage to enable your team to do more poke damage. So it does rely a little bit on the comp. But the third thing, and probably the biggest thing for you, and the reason that I don't think, like I know you said you have platinum like play moments, which I definitely can see. I definitely think you have a lot of potential, and for sure you could easily be plat very soon. But I think the one reason that I wouldn't place you any higher than you are right now is you don't use any Reinhardt tech almost at all. You don't cancel swing into Fire Strike. You don't use jump at the end of charge. You don't, kind of tap left click so you can, shield quicker. You don't kind of angle your shield or, use left click while you're holding your shield to look around. Like, you don't use any Reinhardt tech at all. And I'm not saying you have to use all of it, but you should definitely figure out a couple pieces that you like or that you think would be really useful. One of my highest suggestions is animation cancel swing into Fire Strike, and just learn that and use that religiously, because I think that's one of the biggest things for you personally. You just don't know enough Reinhardt tech. You don't use enough Reinhardt tech. There's plenty of videos about Reinhardt tech because I only covered some of it, and I only talked about a little bit of it. Even shield hopping, try and learn shield hopping. There's plenty of videos on YouTube you can look up and learn the concept. Hopefully I explained it somewhat reasonably in this VOD review. Who knows? Learn that, use that, learn Reinhardt tech. I think that's the biggest thing for you, is you don't know enough Reinhardt tech. You don't use enough Reinhardt tech. You seem to be fairly smart about making calls and kind of know what's happening more or less, but just learn Reinhardt tech if you want to be a Reinhardt man. So if you've made it this far through the VOD, PogChamp, if you want me to review one of your VODs, post them in the Elo Hell Discord under the VOD request channel and tag me. Please make sure you tag me at Panda2050. I'll put all the links to everything in the description. I hope you've learned something from this VOD review, and best of luck climbing.